Welcome to the world today. I'm Waqas Majeed. Today we have a very special show. We have a visiting delegation from Indonesia, and as everybody knows, in Pakistan we have a wonderful historical relationship with Indonesia where both countries have mutual interests. They share the religion and many cultural values as well, and they have supported each other on regional and global fora everywhere. And here's to Indonesia and Pakistan's growing friendship. Let me introduce our guests that are joining us from Lahore. First of all, His Excellency Ivan Suyudhie Amri, the Indonesian ambassador to Pakistan, is with us. And along with him, we have Dr. Sugiharto, chairman of the Indonesian Economic Intelligence Forum, and he was formerly the State Minister of State-Owned Enterprises from 2004 to 2007, and the chairman of the Pertamina Persero and the National Oil Company of Indonesia from 2010 to 2015. So first of all, a very warm welcome to all of you gentlemen, and especially Mr. Jahanzeb Burana, the CEO of the Punjab Board of Investment and Trade. Thank you all, sir, for being here. So let's get the conversation started right away. And my first question for Your Excellency is that we would appreciate it if you could tell us or share with us the main objective of your visit to Pakistan and especially to Punjab.
Having me in this program. So I came to Lahore to accompany His Excellency Dr. Al-Wisiab, the special envoy of the President to Middle East and OIC countries, and of course including Pakistan. So the objective of the visit, it is to fulfill the invitation by the government of Punjab, and in particular the Punjab Investment and Industrial Board, which is PBIT, and of course in terms of substance, the objective of the visit is one of the effort to promote bilateral cooperation between Indonesia and Pakistan. As we know that we had been very close as a brotherly country. And as we know that Indonesia belong to the first country which opened diplomatic relation with Pakistan. It was only 2 months after Pakistan independence, we opened diplomatic representative in Karachi in the level of charge d'affaires, and then elevated into full diplomatic relation in 1950. And the first Indonesian president, Mr. Sukarno, was the first foreign country head of state who came to Pakistan. So the visit of the special envoy with high-level business delegation from Indonesia to Pakistan and to Lahore to Punjab is we would like to have more concrete cooperation with Pakistan, as we recognize that both Indonesia and Pakistan now, I think, in the promising situation in terms of economic progress. As we know that Indonesia, with the population is 250 million, and Pakistan 207 million, according to the last census in July. So both of the countries are a big market, which is could be tapped into more mutually beneficial cooperation between two countries. And the visit to Punjab, I think, is the first step in that direction. We recognize, of course, the other region also is very important for Indonesia. because the province of Sindh, for example, with the capital city of Karachi, is really a dynamic province. And of course, Punjab as the largest province, which dynamic economic progress is also a promising province. So we would like to see the investment cooperation opportunity and also trade cooperation with Pakistan. And if we look to the other province, like in the northern part, in Kapika, that also has a very potential for tourism industry. So I think after this visit, it will also consider to visit to other provinces in Pakistan.
Well, that's
So
a
basically
brilliant
the
idea, sir.
objective of the
And we are
visit
hoping that
is
you
how-
must have had a chance to interact with the senior level leadership in Punjab. And what other areas of mutual collaboration and fruitful relationship did you identify working with the Punjab government in particular, but also as working with the Pakistani government as a whole?
Yeah, sure. Of course, that we recognize, as I just mentioned, that two countries is recognized respective potential, and of course, to tap in the potential, we have to also improve our capacity in managing our respective economy.
All right, so let's get Mr. Sugiharto, also Sugiharto, into the conversation, and let's ask him what he thinks about public and private sector investment for Pakistan. In the meetings that you've been able to hold in Punjab, what were your observations and concerns dealing with the officials from the Pakistani side? What do you think? What kind of sustainable goals would you like to set? And what kind of advice would you like to give to Pakistan and Punjab in particular when it comes to developing sustainable business models?
Well, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We were honored actually this morning to be received by His Honorable Chief Minister of Punjab, and with his strong leadership, we were able to see that sounds the chemistry between Indonesia and Pakistan, Punjab in particular, would be very, very promising. I know for sure that if you look at Pakistan perspective from the global economy, I think this is the country that may have a very promising growth in the future. Indonesia is quite similar in terms of population. We are the fourth largest population at 257 million population. Pakistan is in excess also 200 million population, and but at the moment Indonesia has achieved almost 3,800 income per capita, while Pakistan probably still almost half of it. So why I think from G2G perspective as well as from B2B, as His Excellency the Ambassador was saying, I think it's very important, the current generation, to rejuvenate the spirit of our founding fathers, to see if on business, which is basically the main mover of the economy, also have number of opportunities that can develop together. I think Indonesia has experienced way back in 1998 the crisis that probably very much hit it because of the monetary impact that in ASEAN in particular. I think we were suffering quite a lot. That I think since then the Indonesian government is trying to manage its fiscal and monetary policy, both macro and micro prudential on prudent basis, and been able today to achieve its income per capita improved by almost 400% from about $600 per capita to become $3,800 per capita. I think Indonesian government, while politically relatively stable for the last 15, 16 years, we feel I think there will be a good lesson learned from Indonesia on how Pakistan could probably benefit from how the emerging Indonesia been able to achieve the current status. This morning we were learned that Fitch has been upgrading Indonesia to BBB flat with stable outlook. Other rating agencies put Indonesia, including S&P's BBB minus, and also with many of them are on positive outlook. So we believe that we can share this experience, and including stimulus packages in order to enhance the speed of the economic development. Punjab, I believe the world knows that among the fastest growing province in Pakistan, benefited also from the fact that CPEP is already in place at $60 billion, and Indonesia, along with our neighbors, Turkey and China, and also maybe other countries, would like to take advantage on the both medium and long-term plan of the economic development in Pakistan, in particular in Punjab. Thank you.
And how do you find the investment atmosphere within Punjab specifically and generally in Pakistan, especially when you see it in the backdrop of the CPEC, sir?
Yes. We had the same dynamic. Sorry. We are shifting from commodity-driven industry now to become a manufacturing-driven. I think China, along with Japan, along with other Western countries, are very instrumental in pushing and basically enhancing the economic growth of Indonesia. I think there are very significant investments profile from those countries into Indonesia for the last few years, and it proves that Indonesia has been able to book the growth rate of anything above 5% for the last average for the last 15 years in Indonesia. I think it's something that stability and sustainability of the economy with stable growth, and of course may eventually affect to the political stability as well, is very important to work with. And therefore, I think for the last 4 days, I bring here as a former state-owned enterprise minister in Indonesia, I think we can also share the learning process where state-owned companies in Indonesia become initially the rider for the economy, building infrastructures, you know, of course, in tandem with the private sector. With me, the delegation now, where we have Pertamina, which is the biggest state-owned oil company, in which I personally stay as a chairman of Pertamina for the last 5 years there until last year. And also, there are some private company who I believe may be able to find a good chemistry with their counterpart here in Pakistan, both for the best interest of Pakistan economy, i.e. for exportable commodities that Pakistan may have to have, like, you know, basmati rice, carpets, embroidery, anything that Pakistan basically have a core competence. And for Indonesia, at the same time, you may recall that we are the world's largest palm oil producers. You know, we are the second biggest coal producers on earth, which basically also needed by Pakistan to boost your economy. I think the chemistry between the two corporations are very, very instrumental in making the economy to move forward. You know. Thank you.
Well, we'll just come back to other aspects of that, but I would also like to ask a question from Mr. Jahanzeb. Mr. Jahanzeb, can you, sir, also please briefly explain the role of PBIT and the overall mix of the government's efforts to promote Punjab as the emerging hub for investment going forward?
Yeah, sure. So Punjab Board of Investment and Trade is the investment promotion agency of Punjab. A lot of the countries internationally have investment promotion agencies, and the function of IPA or investment promotion agency is to attract FDI, promote investment opportunities in Punjab. And our entire effort is, given that, as was alluded to earlier in the discussion by Excellency the Ambassador and Dr. Sugiharto, given that over the last many years, under the leadership of Honorable Chief Minister Muhammad Shehbaz Sharif Sahab, Punjab has really seen a transformation, and that transformation has happened in the infrastructure space specifically. And that I want to highlight because infrastructure is one of the key ingredients of development, right? So infrastructure and energy are two key ingredients which create the conducive environment that's necessary for the private sector to come in. And that actually reduces the cost of production and the cost of doing business. So I think with that set now, there is a certain momentum in place, and we as PBIT want to capitalize on that momentum. And as part of that capitalization, we're actually actively reaching out to other key strategic countries. And Indonesia, as was mentioned earlier, is a great example, a great country for us to learn a lot from. And I think there's an immense potential going forward in terms of developing a mutually beneficial economic and otherwise relationship. And so the focus of this is the first delegation of its kind at this high level, led by the special envoy of the president himself, and by very senior business delegation. And they've had series of meetings over the last few days. So we really, inshallah, think that this would be, the beginning of a new chapter. Investment in itself, doesn't happen overnight. It takes a little bit of time for new investors to understand the new market. But things have to begin somewhere. And I think this is a good beginning, inshallah, of a new chapter.
Inshallah, sir. We hope and we wish you all the best in your endeavors. My next question is for Dr. Sugiharto. Dr. Sugiharto, if you could also explain to us that we are, in fact, growing in terms of our business with Indonesia, Pakistan, and Indonesia's business is expected to cross the 2.5 billion mark next year, hopefully. But unfortunately, we've seen that the tilt is much heavier in favor of Indonesia, although we have a large number of products that we may be exporting to Indonesia, but on the same hand, we are not making a balance of payments. There's a huge difference there. So could you give us some advice as to how your government would be working towards minimizing the trade imbalance that exists between Pakistan and Indonesia? Any thoughts on that, sir?
Yeah, I think that is a very good point to address. I think we need to go together and have to have a balance. I think there are a potential enhancement of the export from Pakistan to Indonesia. I believe the next February, maybe His Excellency the Ambassador can explain that there will be a FTA renegotiation that may probably good momentum for Indonesia and Pakistan to sit down together. On the one hand, Indonesia desperately needs some goods from Pakistan in particular and Punjab, then at the same time, maybe Indonesia would be able to form a joint venture with a number of Pakistan company in Indonesia to really see the benefit of basically the production profile of each individual. So I think Indonesian, because the economy are on a positive outlook and the ease of doing business has been enhanced by 37 knots for the last 2 years, because of the series of systemic structural reform as well as the stimulus packages in Indonesia that probably will certainly be benefit by Pakistan also when taking into account, let's say, a joint venture company in Indonesia, at the same time Indonesian joint venture in Pakistan. Maybe His Excellency, the Ambassador, would like to say about the FTA?
Absolutely. Your Excellency, if you could also talk to us about the fabulous economic comeback that you were able to create in your own country after 1998, and what can we learn from that experience? What could you rather share with us so that we can also take those lessons forward when we are moving forward in terms of doing business with each other?
I think it's very similar, the leadership of His Honorable Punjab, the Chief Minister, and President Jokowi, especially for the last few years, where they both are actually men in action. Jokowi was, because of the 1998 crisis, the regulators, the parliament tried to be very conservative in doing a crisis, push after the crisis protocol. But then Jokowi see that is at the expense of the economy. The bureaucracy has made in such that we were not growing as as good as the potential that we have, and therefore the new president with strong leadership introduced in about 2 years' time about 15 stimulus packages, be it enhancing the ease of doing business in Indonesia, be it a license to do business in Indonesia, be it promoting a series of fiscal incentive, be it also transformation on industrials. In particular, one of the successful message that I would like to share here is the tax amnesty that Indonesia was considered to be one of the most successful in doing the tax amnesty. The tax amnesty, I think, is a very effective way to enhance the quality of revenue stream, not from historical, but for the forward-looking Indonesia. I think this tax amnesty is something very specific can be introduced in Pakistan because in 1990 crisis, so many Indonesian probably in the wake of poor governance in governments, there are so many capital flight going up, and I think this is already the world sort of understanding. I think a few $100 billion was declared during the tax amnesty process, and I think some of them are even repatriated back to Indonesia, and that becoming an engine of fund for Indonesian economy. I think the trust among the businessmen who in the past tried to put their money outside of Indonesia is enhancing, along with the serious political commitment of the existing or President Jokowi has demonstrated for the last 2 to 3 years. I think this is something maybe is very similar to Pakistan that we may share how to do that. I think Pakistan, in particular Punjab, can learn lesson on how to not to wait until maybe 15 or 20 years to enhance your income per capita, but maybe we can share among us during this G2G dialogue and discussion. I was witnessed the strong commitment from His Honorable Chief Minister of Punjab and the other ministers' commitment to rejuvenate the cooperation as well as basically in business. I think this is something that maybe we can see forward. And for this, I think we met the Lahore Chamber of Commerce and Industry this afternoon, and we see and we agree that at the consent of His Honorable Minister, Chief Minister, to form a sort of a joint committee in order to have a continuing dialogue, discussion, and exchange program in both countries, both at the private sector as well as at the government sectors. Thank you.
Well, you also have a lot of considerable experience, sir, in the oil and gas sector. So if there was anything that you could tell us about in terms of upstream and downstream linkages in the oil and gas sector in which Indonesia can be of particular help to Pakistan, sir?
Yes, well, actually, given the last 15 years of growth, 5 to 6%, the internal Indonesian demand for energy also keep growing. Indonesia, unfortunately, today was a net importer of oil of about 600,000 barrels a day. We are desperately seeking a reserve base not only from Indonesia, but also from international working areas. I believe, being a former chairman of state-owned company, we understand that their KPI #1 is to look for more reserve base, look for more acreages, including in Pakistan, that could probably, given the experience of more than 50 years in exploring and developing the oil and gas in, we can do something with this one. Along with me was a Pertamina, Pertamina official who are seeing, a good and keen interest to any potential possibility to work within in Pakistan especially.
All right, one question for Burana Saab. Sir, in your opinion, how important do you think this delegation's visit is in expanding people-to-people contact between Indonesia and Pakistan, especially when we talk about maybe some Pakistani concerns wanting to invest in Indonesia? What would you suggest for them, sir?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, I think, as I said, this marks the beginning of a new chapter. And recently, as of August this year, even the visa regime from the Indonesian side has been sort of made easier. So now the whole visa process is much easier, and which would go a long way, I think, towards enhancing that people-to-people contact, which I think is very important because that builds confidence. And in the investment world, people often say seeing is believing. And with the business delegation that has accompanied Excellency Alwi Shahab and Excellency Dr. Sugiharto, it's their first time in Lahore, and already their perceptions are very different, 2 days later compared to what they were sort of flying in. So I think that does make a lot of difference, and there is now moving forward, a strong commitment from. So they met the Lahore Chamber today, and wider business community. So there is a strong commitment that as we progress, sort of. So one front is the government to government interaction, which is going to happen in terms of us learning from the Indonesian experience, learning in terms of various policy frameworks that were introduced. So that's one piece of this relationship, and the other piece of that relationship is the business to business interaction, and the third piece is the people to people contact. So I think which is a softer sort of cultural part, which is very important, especially now that and Excellency the Master can elaborate on that, given that the visa regime has been sort of made easier.
All right, let's get the opinion of His Excellency, the Ambassador. Sir, how do you see the harmonies between the cultures of both Pakistan and Indonesia working together, especially if you keep the historic relationship between the two countries in perspective as well? And also share with us and our viewers, sir, your experience after visiting Pakistan recently.
Well, from my perspective, I've been dealing with a lot of Pakistanis in a number of institutional, including multilateral agencies like Islamic Development Bank. I know Brother Jahanzeb is also from Islamic Development Bank before, who now, alhamdulillah, becoming one of the key and very instrumental position in Punjab in particular. I think for me, although I have been traveling globally, in many money centers and financial centers, but to Lahore, this is my first time in my life history. So I was amazed by the fact that if you look at the physical infrastructure, I have been visiting the special economic zone in Faisalabad and see how the dynamic of development, particularly after CPEC in Pakistan, Indonesia should take the advantage of this momentum, to work together and at the same time rejuvenate our brotherhood and strong emotional relations between, our generation to generation between Indonesia and Pakistan.
Well, thank you very much, sir, for taking out the time and being on our show. And once again, we wish you all the best and good luck in your endeavors. And we hope that it's a mutually beneficial relationship for Indonesia and Pakistan going forward into the next century. And with that, it's time to say goodbye. Thank you very much, sir.